Welcome to the Innermost Podcast, where we explore, acknowledge, set right, and show gratitude for our deepest, most private inward thoughts, emotions, and expectations. As always, you can write to the show anonymously and share your thoughts, experiences, and or a story that you would like to share on the podcast. I am your host, K-Joy, and welcome to the Innermost. It has been, 2 Mondays already since my last recording. The first Monday I said it'll be a bye week, in football terms, and then this Monday coming up, it just was really kind of a few things, kind of tough to record. We've been having some work done to our house, so just the timing, the volume in my self-made recording studio has just not been right or perfect at the time. So, and then there was the factor that I've been extremely busy, and although the podcast is my priority and my baby and just my filter and it's like my place of peace. It's almost like my emotional and mental closet where I'm able to just go and just pour out and just express. I miss it so much. It's only been 2 Mondays and I already feel so impacted and just ready to just be here in this space on the Innermost. So glad to be back. I'm still so grateful. I see that I still have those faithful listeners out there listening and catching up, and definitely can appreciate that. There's so much to talk about. I mean, there's just so much going on. And honestly, I have so much that, I don't know about so much, but I have things that I would like and need to share and, to just kind of release, I guess, in a sense. So with that being said, I'm so grateful. We've been in our home a little over 6 years now, and it's funny because one of the things that I really wanted in a home was, I told my husband, I wanted an older home in an older, diverse neighborhood, because I wanted my kids to have that old school experience of kids playing outside, the diversity of the neighborhood, so many different things. And then I wanted that old structure of the home. I wanted something that we could take our time and make it ours over the years. We can raise our kids and we can develop it into what we wanted it to be, or what we want it to be. And it's funny because it's been a little over 6 years, but it doesn't really feel like it's been a little over 6 years. And so we have needed to do some major upgrades to our kitchen, but in these last few years we've just been working and raising a family till I don't even think that's something that was on the forefront of our mind at all until probably this year sometime, maybe the last few months or so, something like that. So my husband took some time off work and he took his vacation, and he really was working hard to have our kitchen upgraded and so many things done that it's just so nice to see, especially to see the progress that, we've been here. We could see what it was like when we came, and then starting to see the house transform into what we're creating it to be. So super cool. We went and we picked out our backsplash and what we decided for our countertops, and different things. And then we even purchased some like floating shells and different things that we like. I'm like more into like the earthy bohemian type decor, and so I'm super excited to see like it's all coming together. And what's even cool is my favorite season. Sorry, I'm taking off my Apple Watch. It's like a Velcro band. My favorite season is fall. And this past Sunday, which was, what was that date? The 22nd. This past Sunday, we had our fall equinox. Although it has been so hot, OMG. Not today, but yesterday it was 103 degrees. Today was about 98, and tomorrow we're looking at about 92. It's been so hot, but so glad that fall is here. But you know what? I'm like in this place of like not even complaining about the weather. It's been hot. I can feel it. I feel drained, but I'm not in a hurry for the change. I'm proud that a fall equinox has come and gone. I know fall is on its way. I feel like things are so rushed till I don't often take the time to be in the moment. And so I just want to take in literally like every stage of the season, every day, all the transitions. And so I'm definitely not in a hurry. I'm, excited that we're going into these colder seasons and holidays are coming up and cozy time and all that. But I'm definitely embracing the journey of it all and not in a hurry for just this to come or that to come or that to come. Like I really want to enjoy everything leading up to, the next day. So there's that. We are officially in the fall season as of September the 22nd, when the fall equinox. So we have 2 equinoxes a year, and then we have 2 solstices a year. We have a fall equinox, and then we also have a spring. So, and then we have a summer solstice and a winter solstice. So, the equinox comes, and basically the seasons are determined by the tilt of the earth. So some people are like, yeah, the weather changed, this, that, and other thing. Well, it's because as we are rotating and revolving around the sun, and then the earth starts to tilt, then in the northern hemisphere, we become more distant from the sun, and so our seasons change. And then that southern hemisphere, the South American southern hemisphere, and all those other areas, they start to have their summer when we prepare to have our winter, and vice versa. So super excited about that. I'm not sure what moon phase we are in. I know we had hit third quarter, and I believe we were going into the waning gibbous. It's been a couple of days since I looked at the moon. We might be heading into that new moon. Let me check that out. Actually, let's see. Let's see. What's our moon phase for tonight? Here's a fun fact. Hold on. Let's check our moon phase first. Okay. Yes. So yesterday was our third quarter moon phase, and we are moving into the waning crescent, and after the waning crescent, we'll be going into the new moon. Today, let's see. Hold on. Yeah, we had our third quarter, so we start the waning crescent today. So we'll be into our waning crescent. We are finishing our moon phase cycle, which makes sense because we're at the end of September, and then we'll be going into that new moon phase cycle starting at the new moon. Super, super, super interesting and exciting. Okay, so so many things. Where can we start? I'm not sure what's going on with the election. I'm sure the different parties or candidates for the different parties are continuously doing their thing, campaigning to try to win over voters. So that's coming quickly. We are in the end of September. We have our election day, November. I think it's November the 5th. I'm pretty sure the election day falls on November the 5th. Yep. That actually happens to be my oldest son's birthday. We are deeply into this football season. It's time to cozy up. I'm ready for bonfires, so on and so forth. Let's see. Michigan versus USC. Wow, I don't know if you saw that game, but that was some game. So USC beat LSU and then turned around and barely lost to Michigan. So that was a heck of a game. Interesting fact, I don't know if you saw the Rams and the 49ers. They're definitely rivals. My family and I, we were watching this past Sunday, the Rams and the 49ers, and the Rams were down by 3 touchdowns. And I look at that TV and I look at the score and I'm like, you know what? This is definitely a perfect. This is like Matthew Stafford's career. These are situations for Matthew Stafford. I'm not saying I'm no way or shape or form saying he's a Brady. I'm just saying Matthew Stafford has his way of surviving weird scenarios. Rams are playing at home at SoFi. 49ers they always fill up SoFi Stadium more than us Rams fans, and they happen to be rivals, and we're down by 3. So many of our players, the Rams players, are injured, and I'm like, I'm about to put $50 on this game because knowing the Rams playing at SoFi Stadium, knowing Matthew Stafford and his MO, his way, his style of play, I'm like, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, the Rams are going to come back. I don't know if any of you have heard of Bovada, but Bovada is a website where you can like sport bet and different things like that. So it's pretty cool, interesting. So I go and I put $50 on the Rams to come back and beat the 49ers. And what the heck do you know? That was some game. The kicker for the 49ers ended up missing a kick. There's so many things that happened in that game. And we ended up kicking it for the win. So I placed $50 on that game when the Rams were down. I think by the time I got my bet in, they were down by 2 touchdowns. And I got in at plus 800. And after the fees and everything, it was like a little bit under $50. So I ended up winning $390 plus what the money that I put on the game to bet. So what a crazy, exciting Sunday. That happens rarely, doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it's so fun and so exciting, such a rush. Definitely fun and exciting. My husband, I love to watch sports with him, and he and my brother-in-law taught me how to read these sports bets and the money lines and the points, and it's just such a interesting and fun way to watch sports. So that's that. Saturdays, I think I mentioned before that I started a doctorate program for educational leadership, and I tell you, sometimes I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you? Why did you enroll in school? But when we start to talk about the topics, I find that I'm so into it and so passionate about it. Saturday we discussed like pretty much how parents put so much pressure on their students, their high school students, to, have these top grades and be top athletes and all of these different things to try to guarantee them, admission into the best schools. And some of the kids, don't even get admitted into accepted into the colleges of their choice. And how does it affect pretty much their mentality? What type of stress are we putting on these kids? We're in such a competition-driven society, and so that was definitely an interesting conversation in my program. And I find myself, I really love it, but I do need to do a better job of getting rest. I haven't figured out how to balance being a doctoral student and a mom and teaching and all the things yet. So working on that. Also, my son brought it to my attention that the Rams are, speaking of the Rams, seeking another quarterback. So, who would be surprised that the Rams is seeking another quarterback anyway? Especially the way Sean McVay just basically got rid of his number one pick, Jared Goff, who's been balling for the Detroit Lions. So that's no surprise. Going back to that, though, like the Rams and the 49ers being rivals, apparently there was some type of brawl at this game on Sunday. So, this game was it's always intense. Rams fans hate that 49ers come to their home games, and it's like more of them at their home games than it is of us to start with. It's just so much going on there with the Rams organization or the Rams franchise. But we'll see how this season turns out. There's been so many times where the Rams start off with a rough season, because I think I'm pretty sure Sunday was their first win for the season. They were like 0-2. So, we finally have our first win. But it's not the first time that the Rams have started off with a losing schedule and then go into the playoffs. So my husband just walked in to maybe even weigh in on his thoughts for what direction the Rams organization or franchise is going in. What do you call it, an organization or a franchise?
Either. It's interchangeable.
Okay, so as far as money goes, what can they do to improve? Are they strapped or what? Because I know McVay had made some deals early on that kind of had us locked up when it came to like making trades and paying players. What is that looking like right now for the Rams?
Well, I think this past year, this was our first time in a while for us to actually have a draft pick. So what was going on was McVay always traded away some of our draft picks in order to sign more free agents that were more 10-year, in the league. His philosophy was to sign the veterans that are already in the league versus spend a lot of, money on draft picks. And so he would trade them away. But this time, he did a great job. I think this year and last year, like we starting to see a trend of the organization, Sean McVay, starting to get more draft picks now.
So what do you think about that? Like, do you think that maybe since McVay has been in this long enough now, do you think he's learned from that? Like, do you feel like that's sustainable too? Because it can be good to get veterans, but yet you also run the risk of like them getting injured or retiring or spending more money on them, or even it takes you longer to build a younger team. Like, what's your perspective on his approach?
Well, I actually like his approach. There's a high level of draft picks that come in and aren't successful. And, if you go back to the early 90s all the way up to the early 200s, the pressure that were on draft picks back then versus now.
Did you say 200s?
2000, early 2000s.
Oh, I was supposed to, I literally thought football was around.
No, that was gladiator stuff. This was back then. But anyways, there was draft picks were able to be more tolerable in making a lot of mistakes versus how it is now. Like you get quarterbacks that come in, and I know I'm digressing a little bit, but you get quarterbacks that come in and they don't do good for the first 2 years. They're benched or sent off. Look what happened to Bryce Young. But anyways, I kind of like his approach because he's playing it mathematical, and I think that he feels that we have better odds of putting a lot of emphasis on some of the veterans that are out there in the market versus some of the rookies. So, I mean, I think he got a great keen eye for talent. He did a great job getting Jared Verse, who, after Aaron Donald retired, he was able to get Jared Verse, who's basically filling in that gap that we lost with Aaron Donald. So, I trust McVay in his process, and I think that is unique. I think that it's not for the faint of heart, but it is very unique.
Okay, so right now, looking at this season, and I know it's just we're just going into the 4th week. Mm-hmm. What are your predictions? Just looking at overall, I know we have like a lot of injuries and different things, but just looking at the different teams, their organization, what are your predictions for some of your playoff teams? Who do you think will end up in the postseason?
Well, this is a unique year because there's a lot of injuries, and some of the teams that that we're seeing that were projected to actually make that push to the postseason are actually suffering right now. You had the Ravens who went 0-2. They finally got their first win against who they played, Dallas. They actually beat Dallas, so they're 1-2 now. You had the Rams. We started off 0-2. We're 1-2. You had the 49ers. Now I think they're 1-2. So there's a lot of teams out there that are very highly touted when it comes to postseason predictions. But with the injuries and things that are starting to play the league right now, we were starting to see some of those playoff teams suffer early on, but it's still so early. I think this year they're playing 18 games, so I think that as long as my Rams make it to the playoffs, that's all I really care about. But I can see the Chiefs making it back to the postseason, obviously. I actually am very bullish on the Jets. Mm-hmm. I think Jets are going to be a shocking team. I wouldn't mind them going in AFC, beating the Chiefs out or something in some sort of fashion. But that's my prediction.
Nice. All right, so while we're on the topic of football, now you mentioned really quick, you said that is this the first year that the NFL will be playing 18 games? Yep. Last year, was it the first year for 17, or did they do that a couple of years?
Couple years.
All right, so any idea why besides money? Is it just money?
It's money.
Okay.
It's a money move.
So they also are having games in like other countries and stuff now, right? Money. All right. And then you have these changes with college football. Money.
Yeah.
As well. How does that change the recruitment process, though? Like, you have these college football players that are getting paid. Are they going to be as eager to move up to the professional level, or how does that change pretty much the history of that the transfer of like not transfer, but the transition from these college students to the NFL?
Well, with the college students, NIL is just not. It's not just that NIL money that they have is not just the colleges funding them. They're able to start getting revenue, like being commercials and be endorsed by certain brands and stuff like that. So I don't think it will slow down, anybody's decision to go pro or not. I mean, look at Caitlin Clark in the WNBA right now, and you look at Angel Reese. They still getting some big endorsement deals through that NIL money. And it's the same for college football players. In the NFL could pay just as much as NIL. So it's a different. I don't think that NIL will have any bearings on a college player wanting to stay.
You think it's just it'll just become like personal preference?
Personal preference, yeah.
Yeah. But then you have people who rather watch college football over professional football. So, I mean, you don't think that has anything?
Well, I just think the whole tradition of college football has really been screwed up, basically, because, back in the day, when I saw Ben Roethlisberger, the Eli Mannings and all them, they stuck to their teams. If they were recruited by a team that was borderline D1 AA within the D1A division, you saw talent at those schools. Right. And it was pretty interesting because, you in the draft, you had some outliers, and he was like, okay, this guy coming from a small school, and end up being successful. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, Matt Ryan, he came out of Boston College. Boston College, I don't even know if they were in the ACC when he came out, but, he was a first-round draft pick. You had Ben Roethlisberger, came from Miami of Ohio, who was a first-round draft pick. All these different players that really stuck to their guns. You had a couple of receivers from Marshall University, but now everybody's wanting to play for the big Power 10 schools like USC, Ohio State, Oklahoma. So you see all these, it's like a monopoly, in college sports. All these big schools are getting all the recruits. The little schools are left out to dry, and it kind of distorted the whole tradition. And then, too, with the transfer portal, it just jacked things up, too. People are getting their feelings hurt because they don't play the first year or the second year, and they transferring and, doing all this stuff. But, I don't like neither. I mean, NIL is cool, but I think that there should be some sort of cap on it, and I think that's what they're working on. They're trying to have it more segmented, but we'll see.
It's interesting how you mentioned tradition, because this week in school I've been talking to my students about we're looking at prehistoric societies and pretty much how those prehistoric societies have had an impact on our everyday living today, right? And how we basically have just made improvements to their lifestyle, or how our societies continue to make improvements based on their experiences as time goes on in within history, right? So one of the things that I tried to make an example for them to understand is I started to talk about, I asked them, I said, well, like, what are some of your favorite things, right? I had a kid who said like soccer, or a kid who said like basketball, or they would mention like video games, and one of them was like, I'm like, so what's your favorite system? And the kid is all like, well, Nintendo. And so we start to talk about the history of, the things that they love, and pretty much explain to them that everything that you love to experience is pretty much an improvement on someone else or something else that was started a long time ago, a tradition that was started a long time ago. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because something I find fascinating is this Walt Disney starting Disneyland, and how over so many years the brand continues, and the tradition, the history within that continues. But what came to mind listening to you talk about the changes in college football and just, that whole area itself, is that I'm concerned that this new generation and the way the world is going, like everything is becoming more like AI and more like based on technology, that I feel like, we've always talked about there's always the downfall to everything. I think the downfall to this is tradition. I think that we're starting to lose tradition, and maybe when it's too late, we'll realize how important tradition is. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you feel like in just areas in general that like tradition is at stake in so many aspects of life right now due to this constant like movement of like AI and so many things moving forward? You can see it even in like the educational system. I can see how it's helpful, but I can also see how it's a push for more revenue, for faster production, and it's kind of leaving out the human experience.
Yeah, well, tradition is really subjective. Meaning that, like, you know, how me and you grew up back in the day, you know what I'm saying, those traditions were carried on, and we're able to identify with those traditions, you know. And the kids that are growing up today, you know, they are exposed to the AI and all the tech stuff that's going on right now. When they get older, this is going to be their tradition. So I don't think tradition's at stake. I just think that we've entered an age where it's kind of like the Industrial Revolution or the .com, you know, boom and the internet boom and all that stuff. You know, we're just entering a new phase that I'm always err on the side of wanting to get with the times. I never want to be one of those people that want to just stay stuck in the Stone Ages. I want to be very flexible in my thinking, be optimistic about some of the future advances, you know, so I don't get left behind or anything like that. But no, to answer that question, I don't think tradition is in stake. Tradition is very subjective, because what these kids are witnessing now, when they turn 30 or 40 years old, you know, that's going to be the new norm.
And I also think that it takes a fine balance, because I feel like definitely getting with the times is important, but I also, what I'm learning is, I feel like the more you understand the history, it makes you appreciate, you know, like the experience or the times more. Like I've just learning so many things. Take, for instance, I had no idea, you know, for the opening of It's a Small World at Disneyland, that Walt Disney had flew in water from, you know, all the seven seas and poured it inside of the attraction, so that it would have like that that richness of having the water from all around the world. So it's just those little things where you might go in today's time and everything is fast paced, and there's like a you know, different system from back then, but you find yourself appreciating those experiences because you're aware of the history. So very good, very good. All right, so I do want to switch gears a little bit. And that would include, so do you remember Beanie Babies from back in the day?
I remember Beanie Babies and Chia Pets.
And Chia Pets. I remember Chia Pets.
Bananas and pajamas.
Oh, yeah, all that. Okay, so I had no idea do you know what a squishmallow is?
No, I don't.
Okay, I had no idea what a squishmallow was until I started working as a first grade teacher, and the students had these little they were so cute. They call them plushies. I didn't even know what to call them. We called everything stuffed animals, right? But they were like plushies and squishmallows. And so I wanted to look up, I started seeing them everywhere, and I just wanted to look up information in the history of it. And apparently, a lady named Sunny Cho started Squishmallows. And the idea is that it's a soft, kind of like what we would call a stuffed animal. It's a soft plushie, as they call them, but it's based on the idea of a marshmallow, like soft, you know, like a marshmallow.
Is that what was on the counter yesterday?
I don't know, but I'll show you.
Because I was squeezing something, it was like therapeutic. I just started squeezing it, and somebody left it on the counter.
I don't know. So it's a really soft. We call it, you know, stuffed animals back in the day. They wanted to crucify me for calling it a stuffed animal. They call it plushies. And so what it is it's supposed to be like a marshmallow, and they have different characters, and they have really large sizes, really small sizes. So this creator is actually, she graduated from Cal State Fullerton, and her business was sold to another company came in with her business, I guess, I don't know, to help brand it or something like that, and to make it where she can distribute, their company can distribute to more places than where they were. And it is becoming like a huge thing, so huge that Crocs has partnered with them to have these Squishmallow Crocs. So I said all that to say, to bring up a couple of things in business. So let's get into this. I found this little, where is it? Chart here. Are you familiar with what a metaverse is?
Yeah, I know about it a little bit.
I had no idea what a metaverse is. So, when I was in Cal State Fullerton, actually, how funny, because that's where this director, creator of Squishmallow graduated from. Our professor had us to log into this program called Second Life. And Second Life was like one of those very early like metaverses. Metaverse is basically like, I guess to explain how these kids get on like Roblox or Fortnite and they're all on there meeting up and hanging out and chatting and all that. So here is a list of the top branded metaverses, I guess, experiences within Roblox. So you see how these kids are just like crazy about Roblox? They have different brands within Roblox. It's hard for me to comprehend this because we did not grow up in this era or this time. Our video games did not look like this. But it's showing that Sonic's, I guess, metaverse in Roblox had over 27 million visits. Hello Kitty had over 15 million, and it goes on and on. Then you had Squishmallow, who had over 3.6 million. I don't even know what the earnings look like for this company, but I'll say this. Well, what do you know about trading and companies and knowing the history of like Beanie Babies when we were growing up, those early companies and different things? What do you just and I'm not saying, I know you do everything basically on a professional level, but just on this like human scale of thinking, what do you think this could turn into, and is this something that will probably have like an IPO soon? I think we remember when Roblox came out with theirs. What are your thoughts on Squishmallow as a company?
Well, this is the first time I ever heard of Squishmallow or whatnot, but some of the silliest things, IPO, and they do amazing. And so I really don't know much about Squishmallow. I really honestly don't know much. I know they got some nice looking Crocs that's out there, and they got the little Squishmallow puppets on them and all that. So, I think that right now they're not on the market. They're private. And once they come to market and go public, then they'll IPO.
Nice. Yeah. So just since we're into talking about these companies and getting into this, on the grand scale of trading, I had no idea that there was a such thing called a World Cup Trading Championship. We are in a very like entertainment driven society. The average person is basically into sports, but the reality is there are so many other basically, I guess, platforms of competition that are out there that's besides sports. What's a World Cup Trading Championship? What is that?
So the World Cup Trading Championship is a competition that's held yearly, and it stems from January all the way through December. They also have some subsidiary competitions within the World Cup. They have different divisions like the Forex division, the Futures division. You have the quarterly day trading divisions, and so it's been they rebranded as a World Cup Trading Championship. It was before, way back in the 80s. It was coined the Robbins Cup. The Robbins family were the people who created this competition. It was a publicized competition where the public can see these traders, and these traders were able to build a credible track record over time by doing this competition. They were highly publicized to the public through newspaper articles, getting trophies, getting all kinds of notoriety. Because in the world of trading, there's a lot of chaff that's in the wheat, right? And you want to be able to identify those that are credible, and the only way you're able to see that they're credible is by them sustaining some sort of track record that's publicized. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a competition, but it's a competition that you have to have your own money in it, at least $10,000 to do the World Cup. And you just trade, and at the end of the year you get every day There's so every day they upload the statistics on your trade and your P&L by way of a percentage. And so this year I'm joining the Global Cup, a trading championship that goes from June all the way to next year May. I'm joining late. It's already September, but I'm excited.
Nice. So there's traders in the world it just, I don't know if it's just me or this is a normal thought, but my mind was so small in thinking where, and maybe this is the average person, most people only feel like the celebrities that they see, these athletes that they see, music artists, movie actors and different things are like the top celebrities and professionals in the world. But what's interesting is in every different area of, I don't know, competition or a different platform or different study, like you have education, you have finance, you have all these different, like medical, there are some top people, like top competitors, top people. And so you're saying that in this field for the World Cup Trading Championship that these people are competing to see who trade the best?
Yeah, it's for, they only post the top 5 finishes in the competition. So if you could be number 6 and you could have good numbers, but if you're not in the top 5, they don't post you at all. And
then about how many people are in this competition, like I guess within that time?
Hundreds, and they stem from China, Argentina, Venezuela, U.S., it's all over, Germany, Russia.
And is there like a running list that just say a person is interested in starting to follow, the World Cup Trading Championship and to follow the people who are trading? How could they see a list of what's going on?
Well, they go to worldcuptradingchampionship.com to see all that information. It's a very low-key, private sort of website. They don't really advertise it. And so, it's just a platform just to develop a track record, and the public can go in and visit and see. I always recommend that if people want to learn how to trade, don't listen to any gurus on YouTube. Just actually go to these. There's also a U.S. Investing Championship.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about that.
So the U.S. Investing Championship is held domestically, and people from all over the world can compete in the U.S. Investing Championship. You got people from China and India that could actually trade in the U.S. Investing Championship, trading some of the Indian stocks, Chinese stocks. So it's very agnostic. It's not just U.S. based, and they could compete. So you have all these different competitions that are going on. I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about U.S. trade.
Yeah, you got these different competitions and all that, and just put your own money out there. I think the U.S. investing it requires you to have at least $20,000. There's $1 million division too, where you can put if you have $1 million, you could of your own money, you can put it in there and compete in that. So
nice. Very interesting stuff. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, making up for
I'm hungry.
That bye week. You can be dismissed. I still have a couple of things that I want to go over. I did run across this very cool website. You're hungry? Good. I ran across this very cool website I haven't had the chance to really dig into, but it's called Polygon, and it covers, like, if you're into, I don't know, if you're a nerd and you enjoy being a nerd and you're into, like, video games, entertainment, just things that are different, like in the culture. How I ended up here, there was an article called "The Most Star Wars Ass Names in Star Wars." That article caught my attention, and my son loves Star Wars. I love to watch it with him, and it's some really cool articles in there. So it's called Polygon.com. You could look at, like, games, entertainment, some really cool, quirky, nerd vibes if you're into that type of thing. We've been going strong today. Today is my father's birthday. My dad is 65 years old today. He he loves being a father. He probably loves being a grandfather more. He has been a provider. He's been a lot of things, but I think the most important thing that he's been in my life is I will never forget how he taught me how to pray. And he taught me to the importance of prayer. And, fathers are supposed to be protectors. And he could have played the role of this big macho protector as a father and me being the only girl. But he taught me the importance and trust in the Lord. And I remember having bad dreams or having concerns and worries. And he really taught me how to trust my faith and trust in the Lord and trust in prayer. So that is something that you can never put a dollar amount on. And that's the most valuable gift he gives some really cool gifts. This man likes to gift. He actually grew up a Jehovah's Witness. And so he's very proud to celebrate his birthdays because growing up as a kid, he was not allowed to. And so he takes it very serious and enjoys it a whole lot. And I'm very happy to say happy birthday to him. And all right, and I have my son Landry. I don't think Landry has been on the show. I've had my other sons on the show just join the show here. Landry always brings me some really cool news and updates about like new video games. Landry taught me a lot about Minecraft story mode and what was the company that they sold it to or something like that? I forget the name of the company. Do you remember? Telltale Games. They went out of business, right?
Yeah.
And then they lost the rights or something like that?
They didn't have...
They didn't have what? Yeah, speaking to the mic, son.
They basically the game just ended and they didn't want to bring it back because something about the employees not getting paid enough or something.
Exactly, yeah. So something along the lines where the company divulged and they weren't able to keep it going. That usually happens with companies, but Landry just brought some very cool news to me. What is it, Landry? What do you have?
So the voice actor, I saw a ad while I was watching TV about the new show called Everybody Still Hates Chris because there used to be a show about Everybody Hates Chris and now they have a animated show of it.
Well, that sounds super cool. And while you were talking, I actually just brought it up. It looks like it will be showing on Hulu. Everybody Hates Chris was super, super popular. It's called Everybody. I guess they have a trailer that says Everybody Still Hates Chris. Like Landry has said, like I mentioned, Landry brings me the coolest updates on the show. This is definitely something that actually, Landry, these updates too are like right now, so very cool. Maybe we'll be able to catch an episode. It doesn't say. It looks like the animation has been the new one or the older one. There was a Everybody Hates Chris that came out a while ago, but there's a Everybody Still Hates Chris, like Landry said, that's coming out, and that trailer dropped. It looks like about a day ago, and it looks like it's going to be on Comedy Central. I need to figure out what's going on with Comedy Central. Comedy Central used to be the thing back in the day. I'm wondering how that company's doing and what's going on with Comedy Central. Also, there is a new Moana coming out. Isn't there a new Sonic or something coming out?
Yes.
A new Sonic coming out. All right, well, we've covered so much so far. I know there's so many new video games coming out. Hopefully we'll get to reviews or talk about some of those in our next coming episodes. I'm curious to see what new books are coming out, what's the happenings. I need to get back in the loop and figure out what's going on. For our innermost topic of this week, a thought that came to my mind earlier today, not even earlier today, maybe a couple of hours ago today, was that intensifying your prayers doesn't necessarily guarantee a higher probability of prayers answered. And what I mean by that is, coming from like my experience in the church and growing up, is that we were pretty much trained and groomed to believe that, you know, the harder you pray, the louder you pray, the more intense your prayers are, the likely they are to reach the Lord, the more likely they are for your prayers to be answered. And for so long, I feel like my faith was based on that mentality. And as I grow and as I live, I realize, you know, one, that's not a healthy way of thinking, and it's not a sufficient way to go about faith, and it's just not accurate, because, you know, the Lord knows exactly what we all need, and a lot of times it's in our journey and our experiences that help to increase our faith. And with that mindset, you know, you will be made to feel like, if I intensify my prayer, if I'm, you know, screaming or stomping or you know, praying for an extended amount of time, then it's more likely that, you know, it's a higher probability that my prayers are being answered. Well, what happens when you do all that and then you still enter this season of loss and grief and pain and suffering? And the reality is that it takes you away from, when you live like that, it takes you away from living, you know, from the journey of life. And the reality is that life will happen to us all, and that the Bible talks about seasons. You know, there's different seasons. There's a time for laughter, there's a time for, you know, grief and sorrow, and when we're in a season where we can laugh and we can enjoy, you need to laugh and enjoy and embrace it. But if your faith is built on that mentality, when you get to a season of laughing and joy, you'll have fear. And you won't be able to laugh and have joy, because you will be fearful that instead of enjoying yourself, you should be somewhere intensifying your prayer because doom is coming over you. Well, what does that say about that person that prays and they're sincere and they still have loss and they still, you know, have these experiences? That person then, it creates bitterness within them to say, you know, well, God isn't real because I did all these things and that didn't happen. But that's not true, because the reality is that the Lord is almighty and all powerful, and he promises to be our comforter. He promises to be our peace. He promises to be our rest. Right? And so everything that we need, right? But with that mindset, you take on this idea that none of those things will happen to you. And then when they happen to you, then you take on this complex that you didn't do it right, or something's not right about you. That's just not the right mindset. It's not healthy. It's not a sustainable mindset. And once I started to realize that and pray and understand that my faith could not be based on, you know, this outer intensity, that I wanted a calmness. I wanted to know the Lord in those very sorrowful and dark times, just as much as in those very amazing and enjoyable times. And the more I've begun to seek this way of life and this mindset, the more I've begun to experience freedom, the more that I've shed fear, the more that I feel more mentally stable, because after a certain amount of time, that way of life, that mindset will begin to make you in many ways mental and paranoid. And I don't know if there's anyone listening that can relate to what I'm saying or really just understand where I'm coming from. But this is such a big deal, especially in regards to faith. And I'm just so grateful because, dealing with, as a teacher and as a mother of a child who is undergoing, diagnosis for being on the spectrum or learning disability disorder, or working with students, I know from my experience, I guess I would say this is probably not the best way to say it, but from the hand that I've been dealt with, how blessed the situation could be, but how stressful, how painful, how it's just an emotional roller coaster. And I deal with some students who may have more severe experiences or cases, and I think about those parents, and my goal is to help serve, right? Like, this is the way that I'm able to serve. This is the way that I'm able to give back. That when those parents get that 6 hours of maybe they're at work, or 6 hours of me having their child, that they can have some type of peace knowing that, okay, she got it, or my child is okay in this teacher's hands. And I know what that might feel like, because I leave work and I come home and I'm dealing with something that's so similar, and it's painful. And today I found myself praying. I'm just like, Lord, at this point, I can no longer have this situation become a burden, like a stressor, where it's starting to weigh on like my marriage or my relationship with my kids, or just build up so much frustration in me, where I'm like, Lord, I really have to let this go and stop trying to fix this, and understand that, one, who's to say it's broken in the way that we see things, and two, it's all in your hands. And I trust that. Listen, I have 3 living kids. I've had 2 miscarriages, and of the living kids, I feel that the Lord has blessed me to have those kids, and the Lord has given them life, and He makes no mistakes. And so I say that to say that if the Lord makes no mistakes, then I trust and I know that He will sustain, that He will provide understanding, that He will provide direction, that He will provide covering, that if the Lord allowed them to enter this world, then He has prepared and He has a place for them in this world. And you have to know that. You have to think about that as a mother that comes home, and it's just such an emotional roller coaster to go through all the things that come with that territory of having a child that's dealing in that area, or your family that's dealing in an area of, disability, disorder, or something that you have to work with that's not, quote unquote, the average for the average child. It's very stressful, and you have to lean on the fact that there are many people, and there are many children that never had the opportunity to grace this earth. And if the Lord has allowed them to, then there is a place for them, for us, for all of us on this earth. And so I say that to say that we have to build our faith on the Lord itself, on our love for the Lord, on our love for His creation, on our love for us, on our love for who He is, or what has been done for us. And that has to be enough. And when that's enough, I believe that everything else will begin to flourish. That our prayers and our faith cannot be based on what we've received, or the the percentage of prayers that you feel are answered are things that go in your favor. That aside from all those things, that we need to just focus on the face of God and just be grateful. Be grateful for the things that we have and the experiences that we have. And just changing that way of thinking and enjoying life has just changed my encounters with people every day. You're able to see people, right? Like, you're not just walking through life trying to accomplish what you need to accomplish for your own desire or gain, but you stop and you start to see people and you start to appreciate having encounters with other human beings and souls that have the opportunity to grace and have the opportunity to experience this life. So I've said all that to say that just evaluate your world, evaluate, the way you see things, and just make sure that you are definitely, you're pulling from the root. Just make sure that you're getting all that you can get out of your encounters with people, out of your situation, out of your seasons, right? Out of your pain, out of the wonder, out of your enjoyment. Make sure that you're pulling it all out, because life is an experience and it's a journey, and we will all come and we will all go, but we need to make sure that we do it with intent. I want to thank you so much for joining me today on the Innermost Podcast. I am so grateful, so very grateful that you took your valuable time to address some of the deepest thoughts and opinions that only reside in the innermost. It has been a wonderful pleasure to host you. I look forward to receiving your stories and exchanging experiences in our community at the Innermost Podcast at gmail.com or at Instagram at the Innermost Podcast. I hope you find enough motivation to carry you through the week. Take care and never abandon your innermost thoughts, your innermost opinions, and your being. God bless.